Bosasa auditor Peet Venter says his fear of losing his job made him reluctant to testify at the state capture inquiry. The chairperson, Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, has allowed Venter to correct his previous statements. Reporter Govan Whittles is following proceedings and joins us now. Govan, good afternoon to you. So first of all, as far as Venter is concerned, coming straight out and saying it, Govan Watson instructed him to act illegally. In what manner?
He did this by instructing Venter to make payments, Jeremy, and a number of payments were made by Venter while he was auditing the Bosasa accounts, but he detailed some of them. They include payments of 1 million rand to the former CEO of SABC, Claudia Motseneng, and also a payment of 500,000 rand to Andile Ramaphosa. Of course, Venter says this payment was made to the Andile Ramaphosa Foundation. It's since emerged that that payment was made into a trust account of an attorney, so there's still some uncertainty around how that happened. But then another payment to Morocco Consulting, and then the one that actually made Venter decide to leave Bosasa was when he received an instruction to drop off a bag of what he thinks was money during a meeting with Patrick Gillingham, who was at that time the National Commissioner of the Department of Correctional Services. So these are all the payments which Venter had told the inquiry today that he believed were suspicious. He said that he thought these payments were illegal because there was no explanation given by Govan Watson as to why these payments should be made. But he was questioned on it. There was an exchange between himself and Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. Let's have a look at what he said.
Tell us again what those instances are that you have personal knowledge of where he gave instructions for illegal things to be done. Just remind me.
Chair, all the payments that I had to make to Mr. Claudia Motseneng, to the Andile Ramaphosa Foundation, to Morocco Consultants, and then also the next paragraph 18, we will be dealing with a matter where I was asked to hand over a plastic bag to someone.
That sounds like a number of instances.
Correct.
Yes, which you have personal knowledge of.
Yes, Chair.
And what you are saying is the instructions were for you to do something illegal.
Came directly
right.
from Govan Watson.
And
yes.
It came directly from Mr. Govan Watson. Okay. Ms. Molefe, do you want to take it from there?
Can you please place on record your answer to the Chair on the last question, whether instructions came directly from Mr. Govan Watson?
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Then Venter went on to say, Govan Whittles, that there were the issue of personal expenses and the way in which that was handled by Govan Watson.
Jeremy, I didn't catch the second part of your question there, but he did talk about the personal expenses of Govan Watson, and essentially he was referring here to the loan account which was held in Bosasa for Govan Watson. And what Peet Venter said was that during the year there were a number of expenses which were incurred by the Watson family, by Watson himself. He mentioned the purchase of a home in Morningside, Sandton, also a number of other expenses which Peet Venter at least believes could not be justified as being expenses of the company. And so the Bosasa accounts were used to settle these expenses, and a loan was incurred by Govan Watson through the year, according to Peet Venter. And when the year got to its end, that loan account was then cleared out, and it was marked off as a salary paid to Govan Watson, and then the company would also pay as you earn on top of that payment which was made. Essentially, Peet Venter saying here that throughout the year, the Bosasa finances were being used by the Watson family, and when the end of the year came and it was time for the Watson family to settle those accounts, then it would be marked off as a salary and it would be cleared out, essentially saying Govan Watson didn't pay for anything and all the expenses were incurred by Bosasa.
And if you were an angry or disaffected employee and you fell out with Govan Watson, what happened?
Well, you were pushed out, as it was clearly put by Peet Venter. In fact, he mentioned one example of the wedding of Angelo Agrizi's son. And he says by the time that Angelo Agrizi held this wedding for his son, he and Govan Watson had already started falling out. And at that wedding, Govan Watson notices that a number of Bosasa employees are attending the wedding, and he realizes that they're actually quite close to Angelo Agrizi, who he had a falling out with. And after that wedding, Peet Venter says that a number of Bosasa employees were then fired or retrenched. He says that this was Govan Watson's way of getting rid of the evidence. Of course, that decision has come back to haunt him, with Agrizi and a number of other Bosasa employees now testifying about the inner workings of Bosasa. But Peet Venter at least believes that there was an established pattern of Govan Watson trying to get out of the company the people who he believed were a threat to his ongoing operations.
Reporter Govan Whittles.